episode 114 of the Two Armenian Men podcast. Mr. Shant, how's it going tonight, big guy?
It's going good, man. I know today's episode topic that you wanted to talk about, which I want to later on know why even this topic came up, because we've kind of spoken about this in the past about being a Mr. Nice Guy. So before we do, the other day was Halloween, and this is the first actual time I've been out trick-or-treating, because Leo now kind of knows that he could walk up to a door, and it's like you just see the other parents and you just walk by, like the dad, and you just like head nod each other like, yeah, man, like, fuck, we're fucked.
Yeah, you're here too, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you have to wear that stupid costume too? Okay, cool. Me too, man.
You remember your dad taking you trick-or-treating, or was it just you just went by yourself, or you went with your mom? Who'd you go with?
I went by myself with my friends. Like, I don't think we ever went as a kid. Like, I think they were like a spot up on it. Like, why you candy? Like, no, we have mushebek in the kitchen eating mushebek. Because you know that what my dad had, like, you're laughing because you know that's exactly what my dad has said.
So I remember like me and Anto used to go trick-or-treating, me and him. Like, my mom used to drop me off at Anto's house. We used to walk around their block a couple times. We used to like visit like houses that we knew. And I remember trick-or-treating for me ended at like I think age 11. But like it was so strange because I would look forward to going, but it was just me, my brother, my mom. And we went to town on the candy, bro. Yeah. We went fucking ape shit, man. I saw Leo's costume though. He looked like $1 million in that. What was that? A dinosaur?
Yeah, he was a dinosaur. And then people would open the door. He's like, "Rawr."
I could so imagine him too. Such a cute little shit. So yeah, anyways, the reason why I wanted to talk about, so first of all, I know I can't formally retract every single statement that I've made about my views about this whole nice guy issue, but my opinion on nice guy stuff has certainly evolved over the last few years. The reason why this is the topic of tonight's podcast is because Patrick Bet David had a video come out today, and it was about nice guys, and I expected a little bit more out of him for 6 minutes. But I guess for anybody that doesn't know what a nice guy is, I want to give my definition, and maybe Shant, you can sort of chime in on this and tell me what your take is on the phrase nice guy. How I would define a nice guy is a way to describe a man who is intentionally nice to manipulate somebody else to get what he wants. Now, this doesn't always have to be on purpose, like a very, very evil way, but more so that the person can't be assertive without having to take like a really, really nice approach, or avoid having to hurt the other's feelings if at all possible.
So the nice guy Wikipedia definition is it's so let me know how this correlates with your definition of Mr. Nice Guy. Nice guy is an informal term commonly used with either a literal or a sarcastic meaning for a man. In the literal sense, the term describes a man who is agreeable, gentle, compassionate, sensitive, and vulnerable. The term is used both positively and negatively. Mm-hmm. How would you rate that definition on Wikipedia?
So that's in the literal sense. They're talking about in the literal sense. And I definitely rate it as something positive. I don't think that's a negative way, but a lot of people don't take it in the literal sense. They usually take it in the negative sense. And if you could read the negative sense definition as well, I think that would be helpful.
The what sense?
The negative sense. So basically, in paragraph 2, they say when used negatively, a nice guy implies a man who is unassertive or otherwise non-masculine. The opposite of a genuine nice guy is commonly described as a jerk, a term for a mean, selfish, and uncaring person. So I find a lot of gray areas in this whole nice guy definition thing because a lot of guys are nice, but I wouldn't consider them nice guys. I
Hmm.
wouldn't consider them nice for the sake of not being able to assert themselves and wanting to avoid confrontation all the time. I just think that some guys are genuinely nice, but still are able to make a lot of progress and not be taken advantage of.
Yeah, and I really want for everyone to that's listening and understanding, being nice. When we say, "Oh, you shouldn't be a nice guy," not being a nice guy doesn't mean you can't be a kind person, right? Like you could still be kind, you could still be a really great human being, treat people with respect. It's totally different than being a nice guy, right? I think we both agree on that.
That brought us to our first
Okay. I
point
didn't
of
know I was doing
discussion
that.
for tonight.
I didn't know I was doing that, but cool.
Yeah, you brought us to number one. 10 things that people are getting wrong about the whole nice guy, bad boy thing. You don't have to be a prick as being like the opposite of being
Mm.
nice. Here is the reason why. You could still be liked as a person without being completely agreeable and being a complete douchebag. In fact, people love that balance. The very fact is that if you are excessively nice, people see you as a pushover. So it would be much better for you to be considered as a prick than to be considered a pushover. But if you could be anything else, instead of being a pushover, just be somebody who's considerate, but still has an opinion. You don't have to be a prick.
Yeah, you could have your opinion, but besides compassionate, no, what did you say? It was the not compassionate,
Considerate.
pushover.
Pushover. Yeah.
Where was I going with that? So besides just being a pushover, I
So let
lost
me
my.
let me give you a particular example, and it's burnt into my memory. I go to a steakhouse, not a steakhouse. Sorry, I went to a brunch place and ordered a steak, steak frite. It was a French brunch place, and French
Yeah.
are known for doing everything fucking rare. Even if you say medium rare, they bring it out bleeding still. So I say it, and I said medium rare. The guy brought it out, and it was still like uncooked. So I had him go put it back on real quick and bring it back, and it was still uncooked. Everybody's eating and whatnot, and I'm like, they kind of looked at me like, said like, "Do you want to send it back again?" And I'm just like, "No, it's straight. It's good. It's good." Because like I'm in the business, I get it, and plus, honestly, I could still eat it like that. But I got my spot blown up, and they said like, "Oh yeah, like you're being too nice." And I felt like shit to the point where now, if I get asked, how do you want your steak cooked? That's like the triggering question. It's like, I never want to be put in that situation again. But it wasn't so much that I wasn't assertive. The problem with it was that it was still edible. I wasn't trying to be a prick, but people take this nice guy discussion a little bit too far. Like, no, you weren't a dick. That means that you were a pushover.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if you're not being confrontational, if you're not being um rude and loud, or it's you're a nice guy.
Yeah, they
But it's
take
not
it to this
necessary.
extreme. It's like, no, like you got to stop going on and to, like you can't take this textbook definition of nice guy as a blanket phrase for anybody that's just being not rude for not getting their way. So what I've learned is that you don't have to be a complete prick. Be true about what you're actually feeling in that moment, but don't take it to that extreme. Like, oh, like I was completely upset. I wasn't completely upset. I'd eat it still. That's not the problem. But my problem is that I don't want to continue waiting for my food if it's edible how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. So what did you mean on the second point? Your second point is you can be called nice and not get at all bothered by it.
So I used to get like legitimately upset about being called nice. Like, oh, you're so nice. The other day, a lady said, I gave her the option of doing sort of a half and half combination type plate. I'm like, yeah, I'll give you the option of doing two different items in your meal if you can't decide one. She goes, oh, you're so nice. I'm like, no. This is standard practice. We give people. I got like bothered by it. I'm like, why am I getting so bothered about getting called nice? I'm like, you know what? This is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a phrase that people use nowadays, and they don't understand what some guys like me go through when they get called nice. But they're just saying like, oh, like you're very pleasant to deal with.
Yeah.
So some guys now, because it's become such a thing that they don't want to be called nice, they avoid being happy or pleasant around people, and it just for the sake of not being considered a pushover. I feel like people are afraid of being kind to people. Guys are afraid of being kind to people because they don't want to look like a sissy.
What's the percentage of, and I 100% agree with you, what's the percentage of men out there actually will tell another man that they are nice?
It's such a tough one too, because you don't want to. I feel like it's degrading to call another man nice. But on another note, if another guy introduced me and said, "Oh, this is the nicest guy you'll ever meet," I don't know what I'd do. I'd literally throw up in my mouth. So I feel like it's just a dickhead thing to do to introduce somebody as like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. You know?
It's weird though, but if a girl to another girl is talking about a guy, oh, he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet, it's not looked at as like terrible. But if a guy's like, hey, my friend's coming, he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet, you're like, this fucking loser that's coming right now, right?
This fucking. So I think that girls, when they talk about other guys as being nice, but when they mention it in a positive way, I think that they see certain qualities about the person that are sort of like obviously marriage material, because you're not going to describe a bad boy, somebody that you're trying to bang, as being a nice guy. Let's be real here. There's nothing nice about that.
I think the definition of nice for woman to woman also kind of means he's a gentleman.
Yes. And I think that phrase gets confused a lot with gentleman. It's okay to be a gentleman and not have to worry, is what I'm trying to say, about being called nice. Because a lot of people just don't have another word for it. You shouldn't be thinking in the back of your mind, I look like a little bitch right now because I got called nice.
Yeah.
Just don't get caught being called the nicest guy you'll ever meet, because that usually means you're probably a fucking pushover. Now, next, and what do you think about this? Because I actually listened to this in an audiobook I was listening to a few months ago. Being overly polite or being agreeable as a survival mechanism. So, for example, you got a big ass jack dude in front of you. and you shrivel up.
So like
And
me in front of you. So okay, go keep going. The story's good.
yeah, so you got some big ass dude in front of you. You shrivel up and you're just agreeable, like, oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. A lot of times this whole nice thing is a survival mechanism for not getting your ass kicked or killed.
Yeah, yeah. It's happened. So it's literally you're online, you're standing somewhere. It's listen, every guy here has gone through this probably. I don't want to assume. And you're standing there in line, the big fucking guy in front of you that looks like a murderer turns around, bumps into you, and you're like, oh, sorry, man. Hey.
Sorry for being in your way. My bad. my bad. So sorry.
Yeah, my bad for you turning super aggressively and bumping into me. It's
yeah. So I think we're on the same page here. It's called politics.
yeah.
You could be agreeable and nice for it to serve a purpose. You don't have to look like a little bitch. It's called politics. Now, the next point that a lot of nice guys just don't seem to understand. Nice guys get ahead in business because being nice and not being malicious, you got to be nice with the actual intention of being a decent person. Being nice is extremely good for business. What are your
So
thoughts?
let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Is it good for business when you're business to customer or business to business? Because if you're dealing with high stakes business negotiations and stuff like that, or are you talking business owner to customer, be nice?
No. I don't think that this you should be necessarily this sort of attitude with customers that are relying on you with their security or their money. I think that you should definitely keep it sort of not
Sir.
too questionable in terms of like how they perceive you. I think that doing business in the retail setting, you'll be benefiting by being generally nice. It 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 doesn't serve you to be a dick
Yeah.
in business unless for whatever reason you are being assertive. You are holding your business's reputation at hand. It's not always good to make every single person happy. However, it does go a long way to give a shit about your customer as opposed to looking at every single customer like they're just another number.
Mm-hmm.
You're in retail, you're in real estate. Can you think of a few times where you've been excessively nice and you felt like, all right, I'm being pushed around right now, but this is the nature of the business?
Overly nice, which sounds weird. I've been with when I'm dealing with customers when it's an older couple. And I'm talking like 70, 80 plus year olds.
I don't think you have any other choice. What do? You can't be a prick
yeah.
in sales. There is no.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it serves a very, very good purpose to be a dick in sales. Unless you're some high profile, no fucks given type of person, which is fantastic. If you are, you wouldn't even be having this discussion. But generally speaking here, being nice in business will get you further than being a dick. It's just being smart about being nice, not being ingenuine.
Yeah. I agree. Do you want to go with number 5?
Yeah, this is huge. When people perceive you as being nice and then you hit them with assertiveness, it shocks them. it brings them to a point you're like, where they're like, holy shit, you actually have a backbone and you're a decent person.
Yeah.
And I feel like that goes so much further than just being assertive and just cocky and just like that all the time. I feel like when you do nice shit, but when it comes time to hold your ground, people are blown away by that sort of character. I don't know. I feel like that's possibly the best mashup of personality qualities is doing nice guy stuff here and there. Actual genuine nice guy stuff.
Yeah.
Not like evil nice guy stuff. But you're also able to hold your ground. Like Patrick Bet David was talking about. Having an opinion, asserting your opinion, but still definitely being quote unquote nice, pleasant. Um, your thoughts on being pleasant, on being nice, etc. I know you're not you were never the type of person to be overly nice, etc. But have you found yourself in situations where you were like, this is not me? Or did you find yourself getting like this more and more when you got
Yeah.
into sales?
No, I think growing up, high school, early teens, and I was trying to be nice. And I think it was nice to be accepted, right? And what happens when you be overly nice, overly pleasant, trying to please other people, right? Out of your own, that pleasing other people and in turn takes away from you, what happens is you start feeling resentment towards other people because they're taking away from you, and then you're reacting in your mind of like, hey, I don't like this person, but you don't like him because of you.
You think that happens? You think nice guys inflict their own hatred towards the other person
Yeah.
because they didn't like how the interaction was going?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think that there's very, very little somebody can do once they found themselves in that situation? Because it's almost like, all right, I thought you were nice. What happened here?
Yeah.
It's like very hard to come back from that, but it's
Yeah.
very, very easy to come back from being a prick and being nice afterwards.
Yeah, because you could just apologize, right? Like, hey, I was just going through something. You can't say, hey, I was going through something. I was being nice.
Oh, you're being inauthentic. I got you.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, this next point, it's would you say nice guys don't finish last? It's just people who spend their life pleasing others and putting their priorities second finish last?
That's a great question. That people, nice guys don't finish last, people who are spending their life pleasing others. Because, and I 100% agree with that, because you're taking energy from you, putting it onto everyone else, and then you don't have as much to give, and then you just end up losing in whatever you're trying to do. So it's not that, again, it's weird because we're not saying don't try to be a good person. Be a great person, be a great human, be a gentleman, be kind. Doesn't mean you should go out there pleasing others because of some lack of inside. Right? This is your premise, right? That you're trying to talk about.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of guys don't want to be nice guys because they don't want to be perceived as pussies. But I think that at the end of the day, if you can get if you can make somebody else happy while also making sure that your morals, your values, all that, you're keeping all of that intact, I feel like you're actually in a better position to win than any other person is. Um, which leads me to my next point.
Mhm.
You need to be a little bit of both. You need to be a little bit nice and a little bit dick in order for things to actually work. And when I say you need to be a little bit nice, I mean that in the genuine sense, not the pretend sense. Being nice when it doesn't call for it means that you're too scared to be a prick. And these are the important times that people that are considered nice guys, people that I think that I would fall into that camp with. I've been a nice guy before. I've been a little bit manipulative before, because I've been too worried to directly say what I want. I think that by doing that, you're killing yourself a
Mm.
little bit. You're letting your soul die a little bit when instead of being assertive, you chose to be overly nice or try to manipulate the situation in some way. And I feel like even if the other person doesn't know that, but deep down inside you know that, you have a much harder time looking at yourself in the mirror knowing that you're taking these mini personal defeats every single time you're interacting with somebody.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, putting your priorities second will make you finish last. Not being nice.
Yeah.
Being nice is not the reason why you're going to finish last. And needing to be a little bit of both. I feel like if you're not a little bit of both, then you're stuck in a situation where you're not going to be liked either way.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to no not you can't really trust the bad boy either because it's like, all right, how selfish is this prick? Have you ever been a bad boy, Shant? Like completely?
No, no, I have not. I will say I don't 100% agree with your next point.
Huh. So this is the most widely debated, misunderstood thing
Yeah.
that I think that Rollo Tomasi and a lot of other like modern dating sort of gurus are trying to get through to people. And it's very interesting you just said that. My point was about this was women want to fuck the bad boy. They don't want to marry the bad boy. They do, however, want to marry a bad boy who has a little bit of nice in him. Which brings me back to the previous point, which is you need a little bit of that lover provider sort of mixture in a good relationship. Why do you disagree?
So I don't think you may have to define bad boy because I don't think women want a bad boy but tries or is acts kind of nice. I think they want a nice guy, just not the nice guy in the negative definition. They want someone who's a good human. I think, obviously, again, I'm not trying to speak for women, um, but most women, I think, want a good the gentleman. Then, so the real nice guy, the gentleman, the person who's a kind, good person who's also assertive and is confident in what they want. A bad boy, like the prick or whatever, if that's your definition of bad boy, it could be different. I think that's a very small minority. And those are the ones, the women who, and there's the men's side of it too, but the women who are just don't know what the hell they want in life and are lost themselves.
What I mean by bad boy is a guy who keeps women on their toes. Um, I really, I don't want to get too deep into this
Okay.
discussion about my opinions.
Yeah.
The reason being is that I've had a lot of different, um, I've had a lot of different points of view being given to me, to the point where there's a mixture of like modern psychology, and there's a lot of different statistics, and a lot of different, women say they want this
Mhm.
but don't really mean it, or like the numbers are pointing to this and that. There's a large debate to be had about this whole thing, but I do think that women in general have sex with bad boys but look to get married with good guys. The reason is that because they want a provider
Mhm.
to spend the rest of their life with, but they want a lover that they won't consider a serious relationship. I don't think that there is a I don't think that there is a middle ground. But if you could be a provider but still retain some of your sort of edge to yourself, I think that you're setting yourself up for probably a much better marriage. It doesn't have to be an edge as in like you're bad.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. It's just you haven't completely given yourself over to the woman. You still have your interests, you still have your friends, you still have your wanting to do things
I don't
like hobbies and stuff.
like a unknown, like a little bit of like, what's the word? Um, Mystery.
Right. You still retain some of your mystery. You have a little bit of like a question mark to your presence.
Yeah.
I think that just not being a complete nice guy and not being a complete dick is what even women are looking for in a guy, just in general, in a guy. Don't be a complete dick. Don't be a complete nice guy, but be somebody that they look at, sort of like how you said, as like somewhat of a mystery. Next point: people respect you less when you're nice, no matter what you think.
Huh. Yeah. Talk about it.
So I've noticed that with myself, I get a little bit too aggravated when somebody says thank you a little bit too much. Like sometimes my inner voice will hear the third thank you and be like, stop being a little bitch. Or like if I keep on hearing sorry, sorry about that. And I'm just like, dude, like you're paying the waiter. Why are you apologizing for asking for something? So I've made it a point to stop saying unnecessarily thank you, sorry, and say it once and be not taken as, just overly apologetic, overly. I think that if you're overly nice, I just think that if you're nice, people respect you less. Like people want to respect somebody that just hasn't said thank you yet until the very end. And the thank you isn't like a deep, like just overwhelming, repetitive, but like a firm look at the person and say, thank you. I feel like there's a respect curve involved
Yeah.
in this whole thing.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I mean, it's not a fact, but it's certainly obvious. Somebody's a little bit too nice. You kind of you don't want to respect them that much.
You know what it is, man? When you're too nice, people people might take that as you're being fake.
That too, and that worries me, man. It's like, dude, as businessmen, we get nerve wracked we have a lot of stuff going on. And sometimes being polite when you're pissed off or when you got a lot going on, you can do things that you can act in a certain way that isn't necessarily 100% you, but you're coming from a place of just needing to just take care of business, as in like I gotta get through this day, I gotta get through this interaction sometimes, and rushing through something would be a little bit easier if I just say thank you, yeah, sorry about that, yeah, just thank you. um it's not easy. It's not easy doing both. You gotta take your time if you're trying not to be perceived as a nice guy. You gotta take your time to understand exactly where it is that you're being perceived like a like basically a nice guy, like a pushover. Is it when you're really really busy and you don't have enough time to firmly assert like I'm a little bit busy, but let me handle this how I should? Or is it better for you to handle it in a rush and apologize uncontrollably? So,
No, it's not. That's not the way to go. The trying to apologize uncontrollably. It just you just kind of get like, all right, I get it, man. Like, it's okay. Just because I do come across that my landscaper, one of like he's such a nice guy, and it's too much, right? And sometimes like, hey, dude, like I get it. You're doing a great job. Like you don't have to be. Your work is great, right? You're doing the job. You're on time. You're here at this every week. Blah blah blah. I don't need you to be extra nice to me either. Like you're good.
do you see how the respect curve goes down? Like,
Yeah.
why are you being so fucking nice? What are you hiding? It's like, I'm not even hiding anything.
Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's a mind fuck because it comes from a place of lack.
Yeah.
And it's
It
so
does.
terrible because you could be doing it because you really really just want the person to like you, but you don't realize that they already fucking like you. So
Yeah.
so it's hard because not everybody realizes it until it's too late. But you don't get respect when you're being too nice. You get it when you're being a dick.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that you should be a dick full time. I'm just saying that by possessing some of those assertive traits and still being a decent person, I feel like those two will get you the type of respect that modern men should be looking for, especially in business. It's like hold your own, but at the same time, don't be a fucking douchebag.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, last point, you don't have to be alpha to get laid. You just shouldn't be a beta. What does that mean? What does that mean to you first before I even talk about how I came up with this point?
Well, why don't you explain first the difference? What is alpha and beta for
Well,
people who?
alpha male is your typical macho man, just cowboy, bad boy type of guy. Beta is sort of like your like pocket protector. Excuse me, sorry, I got my stapler. That sort of um, person. So I think that if you're a beta, it screams out, "Eat me alive." But if you're an alpha, it also says that you don't actually stop for anybody. You don't care about anybody else. It's always me first.
Hmm.
Now,
So, yeah, go ahead.
as being somebody that was was never really alpha, never really beta, but sort of just following his sort of senses. When is it appropriate? I think that you actually fall into this camp pretty well. And you got laid no problem because you're actually married now. So,
Obviously, before I was married, everybody, just to
yeah.
clarify.
So I just feel like if you're completely alpha, yeah, you might get laid, but you're not going to get like quality choices because they're banging you for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
They're not seeing the amazing traits. They're really attracted to the confidence. And what does that say about their future choices about other guys?
Hmm.
What happens one day when you lose a leg?
Mm. That's a good point.
So what I mean is that if your good qualities are being judged more than your bad qualities are being attracted to, you're definitely in a lot better position as far as not wasting your time, not getting involved with the wrong people, not having a situation where you got a girl batshit crazy claiming that she has your kid. Just a little bit more quality choices could be made when you're a little bit of both. That's
Yeah,
all I've learned. I'd learned that being a bad boy is not necessarily the best thing either.
yeah. Your pool of quality women opens up.
Quality. You may not get quantity, but you'll certainly get quality by possessing both alpha and some beta characteristics. You need that balance. The balance is important.
What do you think about nowadays, to kind of wrap up, like, being nice comparative to like not speaking your mind, especially nowadays? There's cancel culture. Everything people say, you gotta be careful. You can't say this, you can't. And I'm not talking about the really wrong, things to say, right? I'm talking just speak your mind as far as like you support this or that, but it's like it's against the populace. How do you feel about speaking your mind? Should you be just keep it in? Is that being a nice guy? Or should you be like, nope, I'm going to be a prick. I'm going to talk about whatever the hell I want?
I feel like it's very, very important, especially if you don't want to voice your opinion, is to more than anything not agree unnecessarily. I think it's very, very important that if you're caught in a position where you can't discuss your opinion openly, it's very, very important to ask questions and understand the person's position as opposed to just agreeing. Now, if you do have an opinion and you're worried about voicing it, it's much better to open your mouth, get into a healthy debate about it than to shut up and try to avoid some sort of just fight with somebody who needs to pick a fight with anybody that disagrees with them. Mm-hmm. I've gotten into plenty of situations where I've had employees voice their political opinions and say something ridiculous, and I had to just chime in and talk about certain aspects of their opinion that are ass backwards because they're talking about one part of the discussion but completely neglecting the other part. So I think that it's important that if you strongly feel about something, to talk about it. But if you don't strongly feel about something, and this is going to put you in a category of a pool of people that may be considered, oh, this person just he or she is is not understanding of this, or um, made a comment, an uncalled for comment, if you don't feel strongly about something, then understand the other person. Don't need to voice your opinion or agree with somebody else's opinion just to continue the conversation. Fucking ask them about their opinion and understand where they're coming from and move on.
Yeah, I was finished reading this book a couple weeks ago. It's called Super Coach, and it's said to be a true wise person. Okay, in a conversation, when there's a, like your side versus their side, right?
What does
Like
that mean?
just like in politics, let's say you're one side, I'm the other side, right? And to truly be wise, a wise person is in that moment, turn off your side, get on their side, and try to see it from that person's point of view, why they feel that way. And if you, it'd be impossible for everyone in this fucking country to think like that, because everyone's on one side and they're just trying to prove their point, right? But how great do you think it'd be if someone just turns off of their side, their point of view, goes to the other person's side and tries to really understand how they're seeing it that way?
Yeah, it's amazing, because I had a situation, Sean, and I've been working on this whole night. You'd be actually really proud of me, man. I've done so much just bold commentary this past couple months.
Mm.
One of my employees, I told her not to do something in particular, and she got very, very defensive. And I had to tell her straight up that I started off by saying, "Listen, I love you like a lot, and I respect you. But this is the way my dad wants it done. This is the way that I want it done. This isn't even the subject of discussion. I don't understand why you're getting so mad about it. Every time I try to tell you something, you get all flustered and bothered by it.
Yeah.
It's just business. I don't understand. I'm not attacking your character." And she, all of a sudden, she stopped and she realized, like, I really wasn't trying to be a dick. And she goes, "I don't know what it is." She goes, "Every time somebody says something to me that's sort of like critiquing or correcting, I get defensive. I don't know what it is." She goes, "You're right. You're right. My husband says this all the time."
Wow.
So I feel like if you're not having these difficult discussions, other people won't even realize, like, dude, you could disagree with somebody. You could disagree with anybody, and their reaction will always be to get defensive at first,
Yeah.
until they realize what it's all about. And you got to expect that, as a nice guy trying to not be nice, that there is always that few seconds where you disagree, where it's uncomfortable, where the other person gets mad, but you always come out in a much better position. People
Yeah.
feel more understood when you're genuinely honest about your opinion, as opposed to just agreeing the shit out of them.
I agree.
So I agree with your point also, not to be super fucking agreeable, but I agree
We're
in
not
the
trying to
fact that
be,
you should
but
understand somebody else. You should get what they're saying. You should stop to listen, absorb it all, maybe even repeat it back to them, so that they made sure that you understood them, if I'm understanding this correctly. But then disagreeing completely if you need to. Understanding somebody else is supremely important, Sean. 100%, especially when you're about to disagree.
yeah.
I've learned, though, that It doesn't matter if you understood them or not. When you disagree, they're going to get pissed off. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but this is it. This is how it works.
Yeah. No. That's all I
I got to
got.
take a pee pee.
Yeah. No, this is it's an interesting. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what people think. Right. So definitely message us because um, I wonder what your guys take because this was Adi's 10 points. Um, oh, did you see that?
I didn't see anything.
Oh, what was it? I thought something happened. Sorry, on my end, something popped up. But I really want to know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with Adi's 10 points? Do you not? Right. Just kind of curious what the feedback would be on that. I'm trying to understand the other point.
Yeah, it for me, just to clarify, being a bad boy and being a beta is either side is going to get you in trouble. It's always good to just be genuinely assertive whenever it calls for it, not giving in to the temptation of being comfortable,
Yeah,
and just being true to yourself. That's all. I think more than anything, just be true to yourself.
I agree.
All right, I'm going to go take a pee.
Okay. Well, good night, everyone.
Good night, Shant.
Bye.